At the beginning of the year, I made a video about how I have just a little bit of hope that things will get slightly better for Gen Z this year. Not a massive overnight shift, just some gradual incremental wins here and there that could really add up in the long term. Well, we just got our first major win that could really spell the beginning of a pretty seismic cultural shift against this toxic 9-to-5 work culture that Gen Z has been proudly rebelling against. So, the Japanese government just announced that it will be moving to a 4-day work week, or in other words, a 3-day weekend for its government employees. Now, this is in response to Japan's absolute disastrously low birth rate, as young people there, they've just seen through all the BS and they're refusing to play this stupid rigged game and just checking out of society, much like we're doing here. Now, to be clear about one thing, this rule is only for government workers and at the moment does not apply to private corporations, but Japan is strongly urging private companies to consider these measures as well. This comes after decades of young people doing exactly what you guys here are doing, checking out of society and living life on your own terms. I've often said that as awesome as you Gen Z Chads in the West are, we have a lot to learn from our East Asian Gen Z brothers, as they've taken quiet quitting and letting it rot to the absolute next level. Toxic work culture is absolute next level insanity in Japan, China, and Korea. Working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week is common practice in these countries, traditionally speaking. But our East Asian Gen Z brothers are having absolutely none of it. First, we got the trend of letting it rot from China, and now in Japan, a combination of low birth rates and 30% of young people refusing to work for a company have created a labor shortage, which has now pushed out old, outdated boomer mentalities about work and ushered in a new era where even the government has had their hand forced into implementing a 3-day weekend. This is especially significant when you consider how insane work cultures and mentalities around work used to be in Japan. There's even a Japanese term called karoshi that originated in the 1970s, which literally means death from being overworked. The point is, if this can be done in Japan, it can be done literally anywhere in the world, likely where you live as well, and it starts with you. By checking out of society and refusing to work for these dogshit corporations, these dogshit wages, these ridiculous hours, and just this complete toxic work environment, you guys are already making a positive change in this world. And we're already seeing the results of this in Japan. Let's hope we can build on this momentum and perhaps even turn it into a global, worldwide movement.
Hey guys, it's Chris here. You might recognize me as the AI voiceover who used to be the voice for this channel. Miss me yet? I just wanted to pop in and say hi. I also have a really exciting announcement to make. We've listened to your suggestions and we've finally made a Discord server for our wonderful community here. You can check out the link in the description and the pinned comment to join us.
Thanks for coming back and making the announcement, Chris. If I'm being honest, I was starting to miss you too a little bit there, buddy. Definitely a lot of good times we had here on this channel. Hey, let me guys know if you would like me to bring back Chris from time to time. Okay, back to the video now. I want you guys to take a second to think about how big of a difference a 3-day weekend would make for your life. I mean, I remember when I was a child just going to school, every time we had a 3-day weekend for President's Day, Memorial Day, whatever it was, it really made all the difference in the world. I mean, a 2-day weekend just isn't enough. I mean, you need 1 day on Saturday just to rest, recharge, and recover from all the bullshit of work in the first place. And then 1 day on Sunday just to be depressed that you got to go back to work tomorrow and having to prepare to go back to work. I mean, you still don't really get any time for yourself to do anything you actually want to do, Like, especially when you consider no one's really only working a 9-to-5 anymore. I mean, rent is so expensive and wages are such dog shit now that most people, they have to work overtime these days, number one. And number two, when you factor in commute times to and back from work, I mean, you're easily spending 10 to 12 hours per day working. I mean, we all know this and we've all experienced this. I'm sure there's going to be some asshole boomers and corporate chills in the comments being like, "Are you crazy? A 3-day weekend is just totally unrealistic for companies and for profits. You kids are just so soft and lazy." Well, guess what? That's not my problem. I don't give a shit about your dogshit corporation paying these dogshit wages. A 2-day weekend is unrealistic for me. If your company can't provide decent enough wages and working conditions and reasonable amounts of time off, your company deserves to go out of business. Your company is lazy for not being able to pay better wages and provide better working conditions. Your company is soft and entitled snowflakes for thinking they're entitled to cheap $10 an hour youth labor when living expenses have clearly skyrocketed way beyond that. Okay, rant aside though, I actually think, guys, a 3-day weekend is a reasonable balanced solution, a compromise somewhere in the middle. I mean, those of you guys who watch my channel regularly, you know that I'm in favor of a universal basic income, and I don't think we should have to work at all. I mean, especially with AI right on the horizon here. But I am willing to acknowledge that at this particular moment in time, that might not be affordable or realistic just yet. But I think a 3-day weekend is actually a perfectly well-balanced, reasonable, and practical solution that we could realistically implement even right now. I mean, there's actually even plenty of evidence that even when it comes to productivity, less is more, because after a certain point, I'm sure you've all experienced this, after a certain amount of hours, productivity starts to decline anyways. It's just not humanly, physically, or mentally possible to work at 100% capacity for 8 hours straight, 5 days a week. A 3-day weekend and shorter hours could actually potentially even enhance productivity for the companies, because even though you're going to be working less, you're going to be able to actually focus more and put more effort into the few hours you work. Not that I think these garbage corporations deserve better productivity from you, but that's perhaps another story for another video. So the moral of the story is this. Be the change you want to see in the world. If you want a 3-day weekend, you can push for it. You can make this happen. They just did it in Japan, where the work culture is even more insane and the mentality around work is even more toxic and more outdated. So, if they can do it, you can likely do it as well. And it all starts with just checking out of society and refusing to participate in this BS rigged game and economy. Now, if you're interested in how you can actually check out of society, there's actually many ways you can do that these days. From living in a van to traveling overseas, there's a bunch of great alternative lifestyles that allow you to check out of the 9-to-5 grind and pretty much never have to work again. And I got good news for you. I've actually fully researched all the different lifestyle paths outside the traditional system that I could find, and I put them all into one comprehensive tier list video for you. So if you're interested in that, definitely check it out. I'll see you there. Thanks for watching.